actually it goes back literally to like the Columbus era, not just like the Columbus era, but actually like there were Muslims on Columbus's ship. Here's the anecdote that I think will like change the way that people understand Islam's place in modern post-Columbian American history. Story of me joining professional wrestling promotion, and the only real authentic parts of that film are the wrestling matches.
The fact that a camera is not necessarily just a camera is part of that. What I mean by that is
it's the most powerful technology in the world.
Okay. Welcome to Here and Now by Edgy TV, where we come together with different people who have a connection to immigration in Canada to hear their stories and discuss the challenges they faced and rewarding experiences they've had along their journeys. My name is Ijaz Alibai. Our guest today is author, film director, journalist, wrestler.
Retired wrestler.
Okay, retired wrestler. The list goes on. But, you know, I'm sensing a bit of a hiatus. I don't know. That could just be me. But
and inaugural Edgy TV guest.
Yes, inaugural. And he has directed films such as the Lebanese Burger Mafia and Making Kayfabe. He is the founder of and an instructor at the Pandemic University School of Writing. The bad news baron himself, Omar Mouallem. Welcome and thank you for coming.
Thanks so much for having me on your first show. What an honor, for real.
The feeling is mutual,
yeah.
1,000%.
I'm sorry that no one better was available for episode number 1, but I'm happy to be the first.
I'm pretty sure we all think here that we couldn't think of a better person for day one. I mean, you taught me how to use the Keurig. That's gonna go a long way for guests to come.
Ijaz's first experience with the Keurig.
Yeah, that was
huge. Had to
huge.
make my own coffee on episode number 1.
That was huge. Yeah. But, you know, team building exercise, I would say.
Yes, it was.
We're looking like monkeys back there trying to plug things in. And, yeah.
It got the blood flowing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a million things I could talk to you about, but I honestly want to talk about first Making Kayfabe because
sure.
I watched that last night and it quite sincerely blew me away. I mean, from front to back, the way that it encapsulates a community that's going on. And I found this amongst all of your projects that I was able to dive into a little bit. They all really connected me to my surroundings as an Edmontonian, as an Albertan. There's so much stuff going on. And I feel like that aspect of Edmonton, of Alberta, sometimes kind of gets swept under the rug. And it's, you know, because of people like you that these things get to be shared and exposed and brought to light for people to see. And would you call it the amateur wrestling community, or is that not the
indie wrestling?
Indie, that's right.
Yeah.
Because they're good.
Well, some people might call it like, you know, indie pro wrestling or, you know, amateur pro wrestling. But I think, you know, the people who are in it just like to call it the indie wrestling scene. Because they take a lot of pride in it, sounds like.
No doubt.
Indie rock.
Right.
You know? And it kind of is like, there is something very, I mean, there's something very like cool about it, despite the fact that it's professional wrestling, which, you know, people think is very uncool. You know, it used to be, and it still kind of is, that if you tell someone that like you like pro wrestling, you're kind of admitting to being like a flawed human being.
Well, there are some people with that,
but it's just not. It's not. Wrestling has evolved so much, and it's become really cool. One of the things that I love that's happened in the last like 10 years or so, and I actually credit RuPaul's Drag Race for this, is that no one is like pretending that wrestling isn't campy and kitschy and silly anymore.
Right.
They're embracing that.
Right.
And so in the movie, I make this comparison to like drag. And I feel like wrestling is kind of the original drag show.
Right.
People, you know, ordinary people, teachers, policy analysts, carpenters, whatever, they get to transform into someone entirely different, and moonlight as wrestlers. And you get out there and you're campy and you're silly and you're either like really, really good or really, really evil. And it's just a hell of a lot of fun. The scary thing, though, is that it takes an enormous amount of skill just to even try it.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
yeah, I think
yeah.
people don't appreciate how much it is. Like, they understand that it's choreographed, but it's expertly choreographed in the way that to be a professional wrestler is like being a professional dancer. Yeah. Highly physical, highly sophisticated, like more intellectual than you might think.
Right. And if they don't know that, they'll find out once they watch Making Kayfabe.
Yes.
And also in terms of putting on the persona, everybody does that apparently except for the announcer. I can't remember his name right now.
Spencer Love.
That's right,
Yes.
yeah. That's him at all times.
Yes.
Would you say that, do you think kayfabe is a term that's used in drag as well?
No, but
Or
it
is
is becoming increasingly like a cultural term that is being used to explain, I think, a lot of modern sort of, I don't know, behaviors or modern like cultural, like modern things in our modern culture. So, for example, the way that we conduct ourselves on social media. For example, the captions we write on our Instagram or the person that we are on our TikTok. Social media began as this sort of like theoretically this authentic expression of yourself, right?
Yes.
That's sort of what it was supposed to mean in the MySpace and early Facebook days.
Yeah.
But what I think it's actually become is a performative version of ourselves, much like
For sure.
with professional wrestlers, when you make kayfabe, when you stay in character, that character might even go by your real name.
Right.
And that character might have the same job that you have, but it's a amplified version of it. So
Right.
kayfabe kind of helps us explain, like make sense of how we present ourselves out in the world versus who we are at home. Kayfabe is also, used to explain how politicians conduct themselves. Someone like Donald Trump, he's a performer. When he goes out and he claims to have all these, when he goes out there and he pretends to be an ally to Christian evangelists, everyone knows he's not, including the Christians themselves.
Yeah.
But he's telling them what they want to hear,
Yeah.
and in the same way that like wrestling fans come to a wrestling show, they know it's fake, they know it's scripted, but it's it's almost like this agreement, this like social contract between the performer and the spectator, that when we are in the hall together, or when we're on social media, or when we're at like a rally, politicians rally, we're all just going to pretend like this is real and authentic, even though we know that it
Very
is
interesting.
not. Yeah.
Very interesting. Have you been to a rally like that before? I've always been curious what the vibe is like there.
No, I don't. I know.
But I
think
have
it
been
would scare
to.
me.
Yeah.
I've been to like a Stephen Harper rally.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 But I don't know, what was it to the scale of?
As a journalist, I just want to clarify.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, I would only be at a political rally as a journalist.
Yeah.
Despite also, once moonlighting as a wrestler, I'm a serious journalist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People can be many different things.
Which is, of course, the character in my wrestling persona is Fake News Neville.
That was just brilliant.
Amplified version of the person that I am.
And you played it so well. You weren't like, yes,
thanks.
you have real life journalism experience, and I'm sure that played a part in your immersion to the role. But there's acting that had to be done there. There's script memorization. It wasn't just the physicality of it all, which was again amazing.
Okay, but here's the thing that that I think is the takeaway in making kayfabe, because like deep down it is actually more of a commentary on journalism and documentary journalism than it is a commentary on wrestling. So I take this concept of kayfabe and apply it to myself in this movie. And in this film, you see me, you see the story of me joining professional wrestling promotion,
Yes.
you know, getting trained, getting mentored, and then fighting my first match. And it unfolds in these like unscripted ways, no narration, no, you know, the style of documentary is called verite or observational documentary.
Okay.
But is it actually real? Is it actually unscripted? Am I on a real mission, or am I performing for the cameras when I do that? I've always felt like as soon as you put a camera on people, including right now, they cease being their authentic selves and they become a performative version of themselves,
Right.
as I am being right now.
Right.
And that's kind of the point of making kayfabe. So I'm supposed to be like a journalist who is performing, you know, who's conducting journalism.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm performing a journalist conducting journalism, and the only real authentic parts of that film are the wrestling matches. The things that are supposed to be scripted and fake are actually the realest parts of that movie. If you were to remove the cameras and just that wrestling match would look exactly the same way that it was, because that's just the format. That is what wrestling is. The audience would respond the same way. We would have the same match, whether or not the cameras are there. If I were training to be a wrestler, if you were to remove the cameras, I think you would have seen probably a different person. I'm not sure how, but I think you would see a different person in training.
Yeah. Wow. That's deep. Yeah. Very interesting.
I don't know if anyone got that but me, but
no,
that was my
you.
artistic intention.
I hear you. Well, I mean, some things, you know, get picked up on the second watch, the third watch, the second listen, like an album. You know what I mean? Like when you make a deep project, something that's rich with philosophical or otherwise just kind of quandaries and things like that, things to ponder, especially when the rest of the elements are good and potentially flashy. Yeah, sometimes it is hard to catch those kinds of things on the first go through, but I mean, it's certainly good enough and dense enough and enjoyable enough to have that kind of rewatch. It's 45 minutes, you know what I mean? It's at that length. So I think that's how I feel about certain things in life. You know, it's like they don't always hit a certain way the first time you press play, but it's there to be discovered. And like, you know, that when you are creating the thing, and for me at least, all I can really hope is that they decide to give it a second watch, give it a second listen, give it a third listen, because there's lots to take away from it, and it's hard to take away all at once. I was even writing notes. I didn't catch that the first time though. But wow, that's very interesting, and it makes me think, you know, individually, I think I strive to be somebody who is just acting and existing as me, whether or not the camera is there. And if the camera is there, great. It happens to be me recording me in my natural state. But I'm not there yet. I sometimes feel that way, like candid, right? If I don't know there's a camera on me or something like that. But as a figure, as a artist, that is kind of what I strive to do, is that level of comfortability with the camera, that it is as if it wasn't there at all. But
I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah, that was my question for you.
I don't know if it is. I don't think it is, actually. Yeah.
Do you think that the fact that a camera is not necessarily just a camera is part of that? What I mean by that is,
it's the most powerful technology in the world.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not as simple as a Polaroid picture.
No.
It is. There's everything. The network is attached to it.
Leaves you too vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, you know, try it as an experiment. Put a security camera in the corner wall of your home and live your life, and count how many times you hesitate or change your behavior or something just because you know that there's some sort of recording, some sort of documentation of you in your natural state. See how hard it feels to remain natural.
It does feel very hard.
And it's not just a camera. Like when I interview people as a journalist and I put a voice recorder in front of them and they see that voice recorder, I sense a slightly different person coming out.
Yeah, I guess any sort of moment capturing device.
Yeah. It's very different from whether if I were just to take notes with my pen. It brings out a different kind of energy than when they see a recorder and they know that their voice is being recorded. Yeah.
Makes sense. Well, I'll let you know in a couple years. See how much progress I made on that.
Sure.
There's been so many times where I'm in my kitchen and I'm like, I am really dancing really well right now. Like I wish there was a camera just up here.
Someone needs to see this.
Yeah. But alas, nobody has seen me dance that well. Yeah, well, great. Maybe, I'd like to move on maybe to the Lebanese Burger Mafia documentary. Also an amazing watch. You are a inheritor of a burger baron, is that correct?
I'm not an inheritor.
Okay.
I would say I'm sort of like what's sort of the understudy to the inheritor. My older brother is the inheritor.
Got you.
Yeah. What would that make me, like a crown prince? I don't know how it works.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, my parents owned a burger baron in High Prairie, Alberta. One of many burger barons in small towns across Alberta. Anyone outside of Alberta watching this probably doesn't know what we're talking about. But if you know, you know. Yeah. If you know, you're Albertan. And yeah, I mean, it's just like a regular like burger place, diner, but it's also so much more. I mean, when I got a little bit older and started to travel for like hockey tournaments and stuff, I would start to see burger barons in all these other little towns, and they all look different. Right. So I had a concept of like a chain restaurant, but every McDonald's looks the same, every KFC looks the same. Yeah. Why are all burger barons different? That's weird. And then we would stop in, which also was weird. I was like, why are we going to this restaurant that we own? And my dad would just start speaking Arabic with the owners, and I was like, oh, they're all Lebanese owned as well. This is kind of weird. And I never stopped to really I understood, okay, so it's not a real chain, it's not centralized, that I understood, it's independently owned, that I understood. Yeah. But I thought about, why are they all Lebanese owned, how did that happen, but I never actually went through the process of investigating it. Right. And lo and behold, when I did, I found this incredible immigration story, this incredible story of also about like corporate law as well that I wasn't expecting. Right. And family dynamics that are I think, I don't know, really, really powerful to understanding not just like the Arab Canadian experience, but I think it relates to a lot of immigrant experiences as well.
Yeah, Rudy Kamaldeen.
Godfather, baby.
Godfather.
Yeah. He's the greatest.
That. Yeah. And I definitely learned about corporate law from this documentary as well.
Yeah. It's funny. We interviewed a legal scholar in our film, Anna Lund, and the reason that she's interviewed for that is because when I first wrote about Burger Baron about 10 some years ago, she started using that article to teach about basically like, corporate law. Right. and sort of what can go wrong when you don't trademark your intellectual property and that kind of stuff. And so when I learned that she was teaching, using my article for teaching, I was like, I must have you in this documentary. Yeah. And then of course now the film is being used to teach law school students as well. Super funny. And I'm sure it's like one of the better days of their semester when they get to watch a silly fast food movie.
Yeah, and again on the notion I mentioned earlier of just connecting me with my surroundings. Like everybody here knows about Burger Baron. I had no clue it was that. I had no clue it went back that far.
You're not. Are you from Alberta originally?
Yeah, from Edmonton.
Really?
Yeah.
But you were familiar with Burger Baron.
Always.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
always
yes,
familiar,
yes.
but I didn't know it was. And I've seen it, in other towns and stuff too.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know it was that. I didn't know there was a network. First of all. I did kind of catch on that there was always Lebanese owners when I would go there, or when I was a kid. Actually, there's a guy that lived across the street from me, and we'd ride bikes together sometimes. He told me that his family had a Burger Baron. He's a Lebanese guy.
Yeah.
But
what's his name?
Shadi.
Yeah,
I can't remember
Shadi.
his last name.
Okay.
I must have been in grade 7.
Yeah. It scans.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
a lot of people didn't know about the network. I think actually the people who know about the Burger Baron network are the people who are in the network.
Right.
Yeah.
So really cool, and it kind of made me want to visit my local Burger Baron a little bit more. Albeit I'm cutting out fast food more than usual. Right now. Was there ever a Burger Baron with a play place?
Yeah, there was.
Nice.
There was.
Nice.
I think it might have been in Valley View.
Oh.
I think it might have been in Valley View.
Yeah. Valley View is just, I have ties to that place somewhat. I was out there for work one time, and I was there for like 6 weeks, and I just feel very familiar with, in a friendly way. I was like, oh, Valley View, nice. Where would that have been?
The one in Drayton Valley has a playground, like an outdoor playground. It's modest, but I think that's cool.
That's nice.
Yeah. And then the one in Lamont has a laundromat.
Right. I saw that in the film. Yeah. Which is, I wonder what the this is it. This is the idea.
What's the idea?
Fast food X laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what that moment was.
Yeah. I imagine the moment was, this small town doesn't have a laundromat.
Yeah.
People need to do their laundry. Maybe like they had a bunch of like patrons, like customers who were from out of town. They were like, hey, is there anywhere I can do laundry? Light bulb.
Yeah, I guess that checks out. I wonder if they kind of secretly called it the Laundry Baron.
No, but like immigrants often, but Lebanese especially, like they are very business oriented. I try to give a little bit of a background to that business culture in the movie, but I started with like in the early 1900s. But if you really want to go back, it's like, I don't know, when was Phoenician civilization? 3000 BC, something like that. That's, I think, where that culture starts, because this was a civilization in modern day Lebanon that basically like the culture was trading. They were boat people. Everyone owned a boat, and they would boat around the Mediterranean to Greece, Tunisia, Italy, Spain, always bringing imports from around the Mediterranean Sea. And that is how sort of like fully Phoenician civilization thrived. And so I think that trading and that like working for yourself and being very mercantile, I think that still flows through the bloodstream of Lebanese people. That is why they don't like to work for anyone but themselves. That's why they would rather take a grimy fast food job, or rather than something that's a little bit more comfortable and secure with benefits, because they just don't like to take orders from other people.
Right.
They like to be self-reliant.
That's super, super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy the different ways that history from quite a long time ago still persists in ways that are often glossed over, just because we're caught up in the flashiness of now. But personally, I think this year, and maybe a bit of an era, we're kind of in a bit of a Renaissance era, I feel, just based on some of the art that I see, and topics that get brought up and connections to people's roots and things like that. I feel like I see a lot of that going on these days, which is great. I don't my say for humanity is always keep in mind history, like to the best of one's ability or a community or culture's ability. Like people, there's a lot of exciting stuff right now, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the old adage is, if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going.
Yeah, seriously.
I think it's incredibly true.
Yeah. And I think Canada as a whole is making some decent cultural and collective thoughts and directions, like in terms of acknowledging Canadian history and having it now be a part of how we move forward as a community.
Yes, yeah, I would agree. And I think that's why a lot of my art has been finding its moment, like appealing to people, because the Burger Mafia is definitely a story about the unappreciated cultural influence of a racialized group. And my book was very much about that as well. And I don't know if 20 years ago there would have been the same kind of like interest in those kinds of stories. Maybe there would have been, but I don't think there would have been as much support on sort of the back end, the financial side, the production side, the publishing side. And so it is, I think it's a really exciting moment to be a storyteller in Canada, because people are really responding very well to, stories from perspectives that, I'm not going to say that stories that have never been told, but they're from lenses that they're from perspectives that don't get told very much.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of millennials often, just based on the times, are afforded a nice perspective on such a thing, of witnessing the technological revolution, being a part of it, but also having relatively strong ties to roots, heritage, tradition, things like that. That's how I feel as a millennial.
Millennial, eh?
Yeah.
I feel old. Don't you feel old calling yourself a millennial now?
A little bit, yeah.
Millennials,
Yeah.
we're like in our 30s and 40s. I'm going to be 40 soon.
Yeah.
I just feel
a little bit.
I feel old and irrelevant.
I do and I don't. I feel like some Gen Z or younger might treat certain millennials or older that way, but I don't necessarily feel that way.
Yeah, that's what the older generation always says. That's how they always feel.
That's true. But I think I actively try and stay updated and involved in the now as well, you know. But I don't know. I think also
I don't. I'm totally comfortable just growing old and out of touch. But
yeah. I'm comfortable with that to some degree, but I also think now more than my parents or uncles and aunts and stuff, do I have kind of the means and the knowledge and the incentive to focus on things like boundaries and health and mental health and things like that. And I feel like that kind of, I don't know, it kind of keeps me feeling youthful in a way, that I'm still, focusing on my skincare and like things like that.
I'm happy you are.
Forgive me, I don't remember the name of the book that
you call it just call it How Muslims Shaped the Americas, because it's the paperback.
Yes.
We cut off it just has the second name. So How Muslims Shaped the Americas.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How Muslims Shaped the America. Now, I understand you went to 13 mosques across the Americas. Is that right?
Yeah.
As a part of this,
for my book, How Muslims Shaped the Americas, it was always going to be a book about the sort of what I was talking about before, the unappreciated, ignored, sometimes erased history of Islam in the West, which, a lot of people think started relatively recently because that's the only, in the last, say, 2 generations they've noticed Muslim immigrants. Even the most informed people think like, no, it probably started with like the Nation of Islam and the like African American Muslim movement. But actually it goes back literally to like the Columbus era, not just like the Columbus era, but actually like there were Muslims on Columbus's ship.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
here's the most here's the anecdote that I think will like change the way that people understand Islam's place in sort of in modern post-Columbian American history.
Okay.
His interpreter was a Morisco who was basically a Moorish Muslim from southern Spain who was forced to convert to Christianity when the Moorish Muslim Empire was taken from when they took over Granada.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's a person who's been like a Christian for not that long.
Mm-hmm.
His first language is Arabic. Columbus thinks that he's going east, and so he brings this Arabic interpreter thinking that they're going to come in contact. And also like Arabic was like the lingua franca of the time, so they just assumed that they're going to find Arabic speaking people. So they end up in the Caribbean, and the first contact that they have with an indigenous American person, he sends the interpreter to speak to them. So the first words that were transmitted between East and West were Arabic, the sacred language of Islam. And that was like day one of the post-Columbian American era. So that's where Islam's history in the West begins.
Wow. Wild.
And it goes from there. Like there were rebellions from enslaved Africans, what we would call like slave rebellions, that were actually Muslim rebellions. It wasn't just enslaved Africans, grabbing what machetes or what weapons they could and defending themselves against their slave masters. They were, in many cases, they were following some sort of philosophy. And in some cases, the philosophy was Sharia, because they were a Muslim population of Africans brought from probably modern day Nigeria. And their understanding of what is like halal, like what is okay in slavery, because there are religious laws around it, it was being violated by the way that they were being treated, and therefore war was justified. And so they were going by Islamic codes of war in those rebellions.
Right.
They were following basically like the Quran in justifying their rebellions. Blues music is highly inspired by Islam. And like if anyone has ever heard like the call to prayer and the way that the melodies and the notes bend, and there's sort of this discordant sort of flow to it, listen to some of the first blues recordings and you will hear that exact same melody pulsing through. And that's because it was largely influenced by former Muslim enslaved Africans.
They were formerly Muslim or formerly enslaved?
Well,
or both. Okay.
Both, right?
Yeah.
So it was, you would come as a Muslim, not be able to practice it. You might practice it in secret, but if you can't practice it publicly, how do you pass it on to your children? And so it very quickly was lost. And the only way to replenish it would be to bring in more enslaved Africans from Muslim people or Muslim areas. And after abolition, that ceased to happen, thankfully. But of course, Muslim practices and cultures, just generation by generation, actually happened very, very quickly, because there was still a lot of like punishment, but also like pressure to become Christians,
Right.
pressure to like do your best to sort of fit in to this free nation, which was not really free, but free nation as it was promised to you. Also, the influence of like other religions that were practiced by enslaved Africans. So in Brazil, in Western Brazil, you will find these uniquely Afro-Brazilian religions that are actually kind of a cocktail of practices from various African religions, including Islam.
Interesting, because I was kind of pondering about Islam in South America once I saw that you had traveled the Americas for that project. So I just have one. There's so many questions. There's so many talking points there, but I'll just we're kind of wrapping up here, so I just want to ask one question, just for clarifying purposes here. Back to the Christopher Columbus's translator. The first, I just want to get that part right. The first words that were
sort of pass between East and West.
Right. You mean Canadian?
Would have been a indigenous language of the people in modern day Barbados, I believe. I could be wrong.
Sure.
So it would have been that indigenous language and Arabic.
Whoa. How would the translator know about that?
Well, it didn't work out.
Okay.
It didn't work out. But these are the words being exchanged.
Right.
Wow.
That is super, super interesting. And I mean, I don't know how many people know about that. And I just want to continuously thank you for the types of things that you bring light to, that you share for people to know about where they come from, what's going on around them. The list goes on. I sincerely appreciate that.
It's been really nice. Thanks for having me on your show.
What's next?
Oh boy. Well, right now I've got a few projects, film and book, sort of in pre-development. It is I'm in like grant writing proposal stages.
Right.
I can't do them all, so I have to be careful about putting them all out there at once.
Right.
But just seeing what sticks. Film especially, it's obviously very expensive to make films. And you have to have a lot of things lined up before you can go into production. So I'm kind of just testing the waters right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I wish you the best of luck on those future endeavors. If anybody listening wants to check out some of Omar's earlier projects, we will have links and information about them in our descriptions. And where can we find and follow you?
My website, omarmouallem.com. I'm also on X at Omar Mouallem. And you can also check out we didn't talk about this, but I have an online creative writing school that I teach at, and have other well-known, well-respected writers that teach at, and that is called Pandemic University School of Writing.
Yes. Incredible resource, and highly suggest looking into that further. So much to learn on there. Yeah. Thank you so much, Omar. I appreciate it. Nice.
That's a wrap. Do you need to do any pickups or anything? I think we're good. You're good? Cool. Now run to the bathroom.